Anyone who's played Baldur's Gate 3 for a significant amount of time has come across this lovable little doggo called Scratch. Being able to summon him as a companion gave me the idea for a custom lone wolf challenge run, where I had to beat the entirety of Baldur's Gate 3 without Scratch dying even once. What makes this challenge hard, apart from already being limited to only one party member, is the fact that Scratch only has 5 HP, making almost every attack one-shot him. Let me quickly go over the rules for this playthrough. I'm only able to have one party member. This doesn't include summons or temporary allies. I'm not able to recruit anyone to my camp if it's possible to avoid. When not at camp, Scratch must be summoned before I can do anything. If Scratch ever dies, then I must restart. I'll be playing on balanced difficulty because I want to finish this game before I go insane. Other than that, everything else is fair game. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our main character for this journey. The one and only Shrek. As for our class, I chose the warrior with the fighting style protector because it makes enemies throw a disadvantage roll when attacking nearby teammates, which I'm going to use and abuse a lot throughout this run to ensure that Scratch either dodges attacks or doesn't get hit. The warrior also has an early ability to grant allies temporary HP, which will be vital for keeping Scratch alive. As for our guardian, I thought it was only appropriate that I made it King Harold. After having my brain thoroughly violated, I skedaddled my way through the ship, avoiding as much as possible in order to minimise the amount of stuff I complete without Scratch. Unfortunately, Lae'zel's encounter is unavoidable, as well as her being forced into your party. So to avoid her compromising the run, I made her run away, and then made quick work of the demons, allowing me to leave her behind. Continuing on, leaving Shadowheart to her fate, I zoomed towards the helm of the Nautiloid, where some questionable squid tells me to smash some tentacles together. But first, I clap Commander Zalk for his weapon, which will be vital in the future. I fiddle with the tentacles and make my way hurtling out as I leave everyone else to die. After being mysteriously saved from becoming a red mist on the shore, I slip my way past anyone in need of help and make light work of these intellectual arrows, stomping the lights out of my kidnapper and leaving Gale to his prison, where he will remain forever.
Michael! Don't leave me here! Michael! Michael!
As I was going, I gained a level. This gave me the option to gain another action per turn, which will come in very handy in the future. Making my way along the path, I make it to the gates of the Emerald Grove, where it seems a few adventurers have been locked out, proclaiming something about some goblins on the approach. Not wanting to be involved, I tried to sneak past, but it seems like they weren't lying about the goblins, as we get ambushed outside the gate. Struggling to make it through, 2 of the adventurers fall in battle. However, this wasn't really much of my concern, as I took my reward for helping, and left, heading north, following the river, where it was rumoured a small pale white dog was sighted. Again being rudely interrupted by some stupid little cultists, proclaiming something about true souls. Not caring, I told them to go and get revenge on whatever killed their friend, which got them to leave me alone, allowing me to continue on, going over the river, and then I saw him, glistening so clearly in the sunlight. It was unmistakably Scratch. Approaching, I saw the glorified remains of Scratch's former owner, with Scratch woofing in distress. Initially, Scratch was being aggressive towards Shrek, however he quickly realised that we meant no harm, gesturing Shrek to check over his owner. Sadly, Scratch's owner had been long gone for a while now. Giving Scratch a spare piece of armour, this allowed him to follow Shrek into camp. With Scratch at camp, I was able to kill time by interacting with Scratch until I gained enough trust with him to become his new master, finally allowing me to summon him as a companion, and officially beginning this challenge with a very wholesome scene, officially proving that Scratch is the best boy in all of Baldur's Gate.
He relinquishes the ball. It is well chewed and slick with drool.
Now with Scratch by my side, we made our way up the path towards the goblin encampment, sneaking our way past the initial guards, as the latest skill check in there is easier to pass. This allowed us to pass by, and doing so, we hit level 3. I chose the subclass Battlemaster for the 4 superiority die, which we can use on 3 maneuvers. The 3 that I chose were Fainting Attack, which allows you to use your action and bonus action in order to deal a massive amount of damage. This will hopefully give us an edge when dealing with later enemies. I also chose Rally, which allows me to spend a bonus action and a superiority die to give an ally 8 temporary health for 5 turns, which I'll use on Scratch in nearly every combat encounter in order to allow him to enter the fight more and not pose as much risk of him dying. And finally, I chose Riposte, making it so that if an enemy misses a melee attack on this, then we get the chance to deal a punishingly high damage blow back on them, hopefully leveling the playing field a bit more. Scratch had initiated a conversation with 3 giant ogres, which were threatening to eat Scratch for dinner. However, they were quickly put in their place after Scratch used just a fraction of his true power to feign being a true soul.
Spoken with the confidence only a true soul can muster. How regrettable that your meat must go unsavored.
And instead, we ate them for dinner. Anyway, we snuck round to the entrance of the goblin party, where Shadowheart shows up ruining our day once again, so I stick it to her as she waits for my return. After that, we can walk through the party, reject the Owlbear Cub as Scratch is the one true bestest boy. Zooming through the temple, we can make our way to the first major combat encounter. The fight with Halsin is a relatively easy one. You can deal with the kids that run off to go and get help before they can, and then Halsin, being a massive bullet sponge, is able to soak up all of the damage and attention, allowing you to just pick off everyone and clear the room. After this, we tell Halsin to stick it where the sun doesn't shine, and move on to Priestess Gut, who was no match for the sheer power of friendship, being taken out before she could even attack us, only being able to barely call for help. However, her guards didn't fare much better, as they've clearly never seen how a door works, as I was able to use it to confuse all of the enemies and take them out one by one as they struggled to realise where I had gone. After all of the enemies were defeated by the greatest man-made invention of all time, I returned to Halsin, as all the goblins have now turned hostile towards me, meaning that stealth is no longer an option. However, as I was leaving for Halsin, a trader saw me looting the corpses, so I thought that I would show them a little lesson on why we don't snitch on people. With Halsin by my side, and able to take most of the damage, like the fact that he can take 90 damage in his bare form without taking any physical damage is just ridiculous. I was able to pick off most of the stragglers that were too focused on the big damage sponge, especially the big drow woman, as she normally can do quite a number on a solo character, but with Halsin, he was able to distract her, allowing Scratch to sneak up and get the final blow. It was then that my dream protector told me to let a parasite jump into my eye. Thinking they were absolutely crazy, I decided that I was not going to let that happen. This fight wasn't all easy, as some annoying little goblin threw 2 acid vials right next to Scratch, lowering him down to 1 HP, showing just how important Rally is, as if I had not rallied Scratch, the damage would have been more than enough to kill him. But after this narrow incident, I was able to heal Scratch back up and finish the encounter, allowing us to move on to Joragslin. The reason I left Joragslin for last is because he has the highest amount of health out of the 3 of them, as well as having over 8 goblins that come to his defense. However, that doesn't stop us from using a little bit of cheese to get past this. Having Halsin lure him out, I was able to give him a bit of his own medicine by pushing him into his own spider pit, where unfortunately Halsin also accidentally fell in, killing 2 birds with 1 stone, if you know what I mean. With the spider's help, Joragslin was no match, even having some of his companions deal with the spiders once he was dead. This allowed us to unlock the gate, collect our rewards. During my fight with Thor Ragson, I had to hide Scratch at the top of the temple in order to avoid him being shot by this bowman that was really far out of reach and somehow was joined into the encounter. I didn't like doing this as it defeated the purpose of the challenge. However, through my many save scumming attempts, I found it was the only real viable solution, as applying Rally to Scratch every single turn was not viable. In future, I will avoid things like these happening. Returning to the Grove, I was hailed as a hero for my psychotic efforts. They were so ecstatic that the Thieflings held a party for me. This reminded me that I still had some unfinished business with my friends back at the ship, as well as Shadowheart, who seemed ecstatic at my return, allowing me to accidentally push her off a bridge, giving me the artifact she tried so hard to protect. Before finishing the first part of Act 1, I went around and cleaned up a bunch of other side content in the Forgotten Temple. With this only being the first part of Act 1, I wanted to split this video into 2 parts, as it's already taken me ages to record all of this, as well as edit it, and I would like at least something out in a reasonable amount of time. I'm also not greatly well versed in Baldur's Gate 3, so if you have any tips or tricks that I've missed or not mentioned, or any suggestions, be sure to leave them in the comments. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in not too long.